Chankramanena Chankramanena Chanchati Chanchati Aho alang slagyatamang yudoho kulam Aho alang slagyatamang yudoho kulam Aho alang punyatamang madorvanam Yadesha pungsham rishabhak suyakpati Swajanmana chankramane vanchati Swajanmana chankramane vanchati Please chant. Oho alang slagyatamang yudokulam Aho punyatamang madorvanam Yadesha pungsham rishabhak suyakpati Swajanmanena chakramanena chanchati
Aho alang slagyatamang yudokulam
Aho alang slagyatamang yudokulam Aho alang punyatamang madorvanam Yadesha pungsam rishabhak suyapati Swajanmana chankramane chanchati. Ladies. Aho alang slagyatamang yudokulam Aho alang punyatamang madorvanam Yadesha pungsam rishabhak suyakpati Swajanmana chankramane chanchati Aho alam verily slagyatamam supremely glorified Yado of King Yadu Kulam dynasty Aho alam verily punyatamam supremely virtuous Madhovanam the land of Mathura yet because Esha this pungsam of all the living beings Rishabha supreme leader Shriyak of the goddess of fortune Pati husband Swajanmana by his appearance Chankramanena by crawling Cha'anchati glories. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in his childhood. Please repeat. Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in his childhood. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna has expressively given a description of his transcendental appearance, disappearance, and activities. The Lord appears in a particular family or place by his inconceivable potency. He does not take his birth as a conditioned soul quits his body and accepts another body. His birth is like the appearance and disappearance of the sun. The sun arises on the eastern horizon, but that does not mean that the eastern horizon is the parent of the sun. The sun is existent in every part of the solar system, but he becomes visible at a scheduled time, and so also becomes invisible at another scheduled time. Similarly, the Lord appears in his universe like the sun, and again leaves our sight at another time. He exists at all times and at every place, but by his causeless mercy, when he appears before us, we take it for granted that he has taken his birth. Anyone who can understand this truth in terms of the statements of revealed scriptures certainly becomes liberated just after quitting the present body. Liberation is obtainable after many births and after great endeavor in patience and perseverance in knowledge and renunciation. But simply by knowing in truth about the Lord's transcendental births and activities, one can get liberation at once. That is the verdict of the Bhagavad Gita. But those who are in the darkness of ignorance conclude that the Lord's birth and activities in the material world are similar to those of the ordinary living being. Such imperfect conclusions cannot give anyone liberation. His birth, therefore, in the family of King Yadu, as the son of King Vasudeva, and his transfer into the family of Nanda Maharaj in the land of Mathura, are all transcendental arrangements made by the internal potency of the Lord. The fortunes of the Yadu dynasty and that of the inhabitants of the land of Mathura cannot be materially estimated. If simply by knowing the transcendental nature of the birth and activities of the Lord, one can get liberation easily, we can just imagine what is in store for those who actually enjoyed the company of the Lord in person and as a family member or as a neighbor. All those who are fortunate enough to associate with the Lord, the husband of the goddess of fortune, certainly obtain something more than what is known as liberation. Therefore, rightly, the dynasty and the land are both ever glorious by the grace of the Lord. Translation again. Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, with the supreme leader of all living beings. The husband, as the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in his childhood. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Amritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pankum Lankai Tegarim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Sigurum Dirataranam. One interesting note here in the word-for-word translation. Chankramanena means by crawling. So the Lord was wandering about the land of Vrindavan by crawling, not just by his lotus footprints, because in the early age we associate the footprints of the Lord and the soft sands, the Ramanriti of Mathura and Vrindavan. But at this stage, there were no so-called footprints because he was crawling on his hands and knees. So we have to understand that there's lotus knees and lotus hands also. His lotus handprints were there. So this purport seems to be an expansion of the several verses. The one from Bhagavad Gita, which immediately comes to mission when one understands that he's not this body. And he comes to that platform, Tadara Justamo Bhavo Kama Lobhadayaschaye. He's being elevated through the modes of material nature up to the platform of goodness, where he can achieve knowledge in the mode of goodness, and then ultimately knowledge beyond the mode of goodness, Shuddha Sattva, transcendental knowledge. So this is that transcendental knowledge. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janaya Yasu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahoitakam. So this the statement of the real scriptures, as Srila Prabhupada quotes here, that these are there to give us confidence on the path of spiritual life, that we understand these things. Vidya Vairagya, by knowledge and renunciation. So the knowledge is there, and what is the renunciation? Bahunam jamanamante jnanavama prapadyante vasudeve. So this realization takes place by engaging in service. We have to make this causal connection that beyond the understanding, theoretical understanding, one must engage Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Uchite. Without this next step, he cannot make any advancement. Prabhu, Hare Krishna. It's best if you can sit like this in the temple, as to the extent possible, and avoid touching your feet. You look like a yogi. Thank you for coming. So automatically, one achieves simply by this hearing and chanting the taste for engaging. If he's not achieving this taste for engaging in service, then his hearing and chanting must be deficient. So within and amongst ourselves, we understand these subtle progression that Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, that there's a natural progression. And one can check his advancement in spiritual life by his taste for engaging in the service of the Lord. If one's taste for service is not there, then he must accept that somehow or other I have to concentrate more on my hearing and chanting. It is not a disqualification, but one has to understand the situation. Tadvidi pranipatena pare prashnena sevaya upadeksanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. He has to try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master and inquire submissively and render service. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge because he has seen the truth. So our whole purpose of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead here in his archer form, although he can be rendered service anywhere, but here in the temple, we have the opportunity to engage our senses practically and to engage others. And they can come and also inquire submissively and render service. And in this way, the mercy is spread. It is generated, just like the powerhouse. From the powerhouse, the energy is distributed through the grid, and it goes into every home and every business. So in this way, the holy name is spread through every town and village. And when people want to know, how can I serve, then therefore the temple is there. They can serve in their homes, but in their homes they won't get the same association of the devotees. And the temple, therefore, is a place of pilgrimage by the presence of the devotees. It is not just a place where the Supreme Lord is officially worshipped, but here he is lovingly served. And anyone who comes can observe that. He can see the devotees are doing things that normally you would not associate with, how can you say, activities on the material platform. No one wants to cook in a hot kitchen. No one wants to clean, after so many others live in a situation where things are not, how can you say, specifically for my personal satisfaction. I have to make so many adjustments, so many accommodations, so many concessions. But all of these considerations are what is freeing us from these anartas, sarvopari vinir muktam tat paratvaina nimalam. Again, all these upadis, these are unwanted things. This consideration based on the bodily conception that I should be served. I should not serve others. That someone else should clean for me. I should not have to clean for anyone. So directed first to the deity. So Srila Prabhupada indicated that deity worship was essential, especially in the Western countries, in order to develop this sense of cleanliness and punctuality and appreciation for the status of the Lord and His devotees. So liberation is not such a difficult thing. It is easily promised. We see that Lord Shiva is called Asutosh, one who is easily pleased, easily satisfied. And from that, one can receive a benediction of so many material, good wife, good family, good wealth, everything is there. But one does not get the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What's that verse? There in the first canto, but anyway, we understand that the ultimate goal is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. And without that, everything else is shrama eva hi kevalam, a useless waste of time. Savaya pungsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir hoksajay oitaki apratiyata yayatma suprasidati. That's a different verse, but close. At the highest, paro dharmo is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ahoitiki apratiyata, unmotivated, unalloyed. So this is our practice here in the temple. Because you see, we have to. It is not an easy thing. Someone is being requested to do this, to do that, and we're thinking, oh, but I have so many other things to do. Be at the temple is only for service. So one has to make sure that his service is that service which is authorized, which will serve the greater purpose. It is not always easy to calculate. So therefore one has to approach the spiritual master and inquire submissively, what should be done? How should it be done? So we're very fortunate today to be present. Here we see that Lord Govinda is also in the mood of Lord Balaram, wearing special blue outfit, this transcendental blue. Who has seen such a blue? And everyone else is reflecting that wonderful color. And this is not an ordinary. Ordinarily, blue is not considered to be a very auspicious color. But in the present, in the spiritual realm, of course, we see that it is very auspicious. One can dedicate his activities today just for the pleasure of Haladhar, the holder of the plow, that he may bless us with spiritual strength. Ultimately, Balaram, Prabhupada said that when we're chanting this Mahamantra, this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, that Rama is Lord Balaram. So we're every day praying for that spiritual strength. And in this day particularly, we have the opportunity to meditate to the extent possible on Lord Balaram's transcendental nature, his appearance. His appearance is also wonderful. And we're reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Adi Leela 5th chapter, the glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram. So how wonderful is Lord Balaram's appearance. And we'll hear more about that in the evening. And by the grace of His Holiness, Devamrita Maharaj, who will bless us with some additional Balaram Katha. So, at this time, we'll take some questions. And yes, what is your name? Michael. And is it a question about the verse here, Michael?
Yes.
Let me read it again so we can all hear it. Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in his childhood. So yes, Michael, what is your question?
I'm just trying to find out what Leela is this again?
What Leela is?
No. What book is this again?
What book is this in?
Yes.
This is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam.
Which Leela?
Which canto? This is first canto.
First canto?
First canto, 10th chapter, text 26.
Okay.
And we have so many devotees here who would be happy to show you the set so you can take it home with you.
Please.
Yes, Bhaktivinoda.
You mentioned earlier in the beginning of the class this principle of Krishna flow. And it's unique because, practically speaking, you don't find so many verses with Krishna flow. Now, I would like to inquire, because the nature of our service is, we're developing to approach Krishna to find out what is our soul, what is our natural position. Are we into parental, should we go for Dvaya, Dasha, which one? So the scenario with Krishna crawling, it's very natural to invoke parental love when you see a baby. And especially for Lord Krishna, that will be supremely developed like that. So do you have any inspiration in terms of how we get into our natural inclination of which service that we're choosing in our eternal situation?
I've heard from superiors that our sentiments at this stage don't necessarily convert or reflect our eternal relationship with the Lord. We may have some attraction to these various rasas, but our constitutional position is only revealed, at a point where material sentiment and consideration no longer have any influence. There's some discussion that took place in our Guru Varga that essentially said that one's eternal relationship with the Lord is his eternal relationship with the Lord. And whatever it is, it is. And therefore it is not something which one artificially, it's not that if I dress like a gopi or artificially adopt the mannerisms or sentiments of a gopi that I'll somehow find myself in the mood of the gopi and therefore affect my eternal spiritual nature, which is already existing with the Lord since time immemorial. And beyond that, it is above my pay grade. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mother Lena.
Just by associating with the Lord, we see much clearer benefit and liberation. But did they actually know the transcendental nature of his appearance?
Well, that's the benefit of having the Lord's personal association. That they didn't have to appreciate that he is the transcendental Supreme Personality of Godhead. Factually speaking, everyone there were his associates in any case. And liberation for them was not necessarily the end or the goal of their existence. But it was a fact. And even those, it said that in the Mathura Mahatmya, it says that one sees the residents of Vrindavan as having 4 arms. So they're already in a stage beyond so-called liberation. Being there in that, even today, Sanatana Goswami is describing that we see the residents of Vrindavan as having 4 arms and Mathura. Even these residents today, and that is not always an easy vision to maintain, depending on one's own material contamination. But it is possible for those realized souls, because that is the Vidya Vinaya Sampanye Brahma Gavani Hasi. They don't see with material vision like we do. They see with their Vidya Vinaya Sampanye. They see with their spiritual vision, their realized vision. And so it's easier for them to see all these inhabitants as having 4 arms. And those 4 arms means that they're already liberated. Sarupya, having bodily features the same as Lord Narayan. That is one of the Sarupya, Samipya, Salokya. So those are there. But the devotee doesn't seek any of these. He's simply seeing, how can I serve the Lord? Not for any specific benefit or benediction. Prabhupada used some specific words in Mayapur when Lord Nrsingadev, after killing Hiranyakashipu, everyone was afraid of the Lord in his fearsome feature. No one could approach. And eventually, it is described that they pushed Prahlad Maharaj forward with the garland that said, after all, he has come for you. Even Lakshmi, she could not understand that this was her husband. So she was also afraid. She had a doubt. Prabhupada said specifically, she had a doubt whether this is my husband. And being supremely chaste, she was erring on the side of caution. So then, Lord Nrsingadev benedicted Prahlad Maharaj by placing his lotus palm, that same palm that was crawling in the sands of Mathura. And he asked Prahlad Maharaj that you ask for any benediction. And Prahlad Maharaj was a little surprised. He said, I am not a banik, I am not a baniya, I am not a mercantile person, I am not worshiping you for some exchange. In India, the merchants are called baniyas, banik, vaishya. They're pound, shilling, pence. Their only business is how to get money. And so Prahlad Maharaj is a little surprised that Nrsingadev was asking to give him some material benediction. And he said, no, I am not serving you for that purpose. So that is our attitude as well, following its foot. After all, he is Mahajan. He is our Acharya. Mahajana Yena Gatak Sapantak. So we follow in his footsteps. So that means we don't ask anything. But yet, Nrsingadev still said, but you're for 14 generations, 7 generations in the past and 7 generations in the future, all will be liberated. All will be liberated. This is just an ordinary thing, a benefit from being a devotee. It doesn't, no one, you don't have to ask for it. You don't have to claim it. In the material world, if you don't claim the benefit is lost. It is gone. But one who's performing devotional service, he doesn't have to ask for any benefit. Automatically, all the benefit is there, just by executing devotional service. But that service has to be qualified. It's a hoitikiya pratiyata. It has to be there. Any other questions or comments? You have another question about the verse, Michael? You have to come and speak loudly.
Okay. Is it possible to repeat the verse?
Repeat the verse.
Is it possible to repeat the verse again?
Is it possible to?
Repeat the verse.
Sure. Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in his childhood. No, it doesn't speak about Nrsingadev. But we can speak about Nrsingadev after the class ends. Today's a fast day, so we'll speak about Krishna Katha all day long. So if you stay all day long, you can read all about this. You can sit right here in the temple room on a nice cushion. You can even use this book, but this has to stay here. Any other questions? Yes, Michael.
How much does the book cost?
The whole set costs $225. That's the whole set. That's the 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto to 12th canto. And if one just reads the first 9 cantos, he will be self-realized. Do you want to be self-realized? So then you just have to read the first 9 cantos. So do you think that's a very expensive price? No. To become self-realized, $225? Very inexpensive. Huh? Yeah, but you can sit and you can read here all day long, because we have a program in the evening starting at 5 p.m. So don't leave. And if you like, you can help do service. Do you like to do devotional service? We have service in the kitchen all day long to clean the kitchen. The kitchen is considered to be an extension of the altar. So this will be your chance to serve almost directly like you're on the altar. One more question, Michael, and then we'll...
In Vrindavan, where I was member and got brought from New York City to Vrindavan, Palace of Rose Lodge, we go to see Mahidi.
But we'll have to say that one outside. It's a little too long. All right? Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.